Welcome back, everyone, to the Deep Dive. This time, we're going to be taking a look at some fascinating excerpts from a talk by the spiritual teacher, Osho.
Oh, yeah, I love Osho.
And we'll be focusing on this really interesting perspective he offers on the relationship between, well, science, religion, and personal transformation.
It's a big one.
It is.
Yeah.
Big questions, kind of questions that, has been puzzling us for ages.
Yeah.
What I found really refreshing about these excerpts is how Osho dives into both the strengths and weaknesses of science and e-religion.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
Which is so often, these two are just pitted against each other, right?
For sure.
Like it's one or the other.
Yeah, like team science versus team religion.
Totally.
But Osho's suggesting something kind of different here, right?
He is. He's suggesting that maybe instead of being rivals, science and religion could actually work together.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, that each has a crucial role to play in creating a balanced and fulfilling life, both, for individuals and for society as a whole.
So it's not about picking a side.
Not at all.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah, and he uses this great analogy to kind of illustrate this. It's the analogy of the body and soul.
Okay.
Just like you need both physical nourishment and spiritual well-being to be healthy.
To be a whole person.
Exactly. A thriving society also needs, the contributions of both science and religion.
I can see where he's going with this.
Yeah.
So where does science fit into this picture then?
Well, Osho points out that science excels at exploring the material world,
Right.
pushing the boundaries of knowledge and innovation.
Right. All the advancements we see, in medicine, technology, communication, all that stuff.
Exactly. It's all thanks to science.
Yeah.
But, and this is a big but, Osho warns that a society that's only focused on, on scientific progress risks becoming kind of obsessed with material comfort.
Okay.
And mistaking, progress for true happiness.
I see. So it's like having a fancy car but no destination in mind.
Exactly.
Got it.
And on the flip side, a society that's solely focused on religion might neglect the material needs of its people.
Right, leading to poverty and stagnation.
Exactly, yeah.
Kind of like having a compass but no map.
Yes.
Faith without the practical tools to navigate the world.
Oh, perfect analogy, yeah.
Interesting.
And Osho actually sees this tension playing out kind of on a global scale.
Oh, really?
Between, Eastern and Western cultures.
Interesting.
He critiques what he sees as the extremes of both.
Okay.
So on one hand, he sees the East as overly focused on religion, which he thinks results in material poverty and a kind of a sense of defeatism.
Right.
But at the same time, he sees the West's emphasis on science leading to, to material wealth be used to spiritual emptiness.
So it's like each side is holding a piece of the puzzle.
Yeah.
But neither have the complete picture.
Exactly.
So what's Osho's solution then? How do we bring these two sides together?
Well, he proposes what he calls a universal experiment.
Okay.
A new kind of society that harmoniously blends science and religion, taking, the best of both worlds while avoiding the pitfalls of their extremes.
So like a hybrid approach.
Yeah, exactly. He imagines a world where, where scientific advancements are guided by ethical and spiritual values, and where spiritual pursuits are grounded in a real understanding of the material world.
That's fascinating. I love that idea.
Yeah.
But so how does Osho see religion specifically contributing to this healthy society? What's that look like?
Well, he believes that religion plays a key role in creating national and social unity. He argues that a nation just can't thrive without a shared sense of, values and ethics. And he thinks that often comes from, from religious traditions.
Right. Think about concepts like truth, nonviolence, compassion, those kinds of things.
Exactly. These are often rooted in religion, and they act as a kind of moral compass for, for both individuals and societies.
But it sounds like he's not talking about organized religion in the traditional sense, though.
You're picking up on something really important here. Yeah.
Okay.
Osho's careful to distinguish between religion as, as a set of beliefs and practices,
Right.
versus religion as a path to, to inner transformation.
So it's not about dogma or rituals.
No, not at all.
Okay.
He's not advocating for any specific religion or for a theocracy.
Right.
In fact, he warns against confusing religion with sectarianism.
What do you mean by that?
Blindly adhering to dogma and rituals.
Right.
He thinks that can actually hinder, true spiritual understanding.
So it's more about the core values of religion, not the kind of outer trappings of it.
Exactly.
So he's advocating for a secular state that's impartial to different religious sects, but still upholds principles like truth and compassion.
Precisely. And this brings us to the question of meditation.
Okay.
Which is a central part of Osho's teachings.
Right.
He has a very specific and perhaps surprising take on what meditation really is.
I'm curious to hear this because, I've tried meditating before, and I always thought of it as focusing on something specific, like a mantra or an image. But I know Osho challenges that view.
He does.
So what is it then?
He defines meditation as reaching a state of pure consciousness.
Okay.
It's not about concentrating on something.
Okay.
It's more about letting go of all thoughts, images, and distractions until all that's left is pure awareness.
So like clearing your mental desktop of all those open tabs.
I like that.
So your system can run smoothly.
Exactly. And what's key here is that this state of pure awareness isn't something that you force. You can't just, will yourself into it. It's about surrendering, letting go of the need to control your thoughts.
Okay.
And simply being present in the moment without judgment.
Easier said than done.
It is.
And Osho shares a story, right, about the spiritual leader Ramakrishna that really kind of highlights this challenge.
Yeah, it's a great story.
What is it?
So Ramakrishna was deeply devoted to the goddess Kali, but a monk instructed him to actually destroy the image of Kali in his mind in order to reach true enlightenment.
That's intense.
It is. It's like even in spiritual practices, we can form attachments.
Right.
And letting go of those, even the ones that we hold sacred, can be a necessary step on the path.
So it's not about holding on to anything.
No.
Even the things we think are good and pure.
Even those, It's about, it's about that essence.
Right.
Not getting caught up in form.
Yeah. So what stood out to you so far in all of this? What's resonated with you the most in Osho's thinking?
Honestly, it's that idea that science and religion aren't enemies. That's pretty radical.
Yeah.
And I'm really intrigued by his approach to meditation, even if it sounds super difficult.
Right.
What about you?
I agree that whole idea that science and religion can coexist it's pretty powerful.
Yeah.
I have to admit though, I do struggle with that idea that that worldly desires are always going to be stronger than spiritual aspirations.
It's a common feeling, for sure.
Yeah, because I think a lot of people feel that tension.
They do.
And I wonder how Osho addresses that.
He does, and he has a really interesting take on it.
Okay.
He says that the reason we often feel that struggle, is not because worldly desires are inherently stronger.
Okay.
But because our spiritual aspirations aren't genuine or strong enough.
So it's not that the desires are too strong, it's that maybe we're not fully committed to the spiritual path.
Yeah, it's like going through the motions of a workout routine without actually wanting to get fit.
Right.
You might be doing the exercises, but you won't see the results unless there's a real desire behind it.
That's a good analogy.
And Osho emphasizes that once a genuine spiritual aspiration, awakened, it naturally dissolves those worldly desires, just like light dispels darkness.
So it's not a battle to be fought.
Not really.
It's just a transformation that happens when you kind of tap into that deeper level of yourself.
Exactly, yeah.
That's a nice way to think about it.
Yeah, and I think that leads us perfectly into a discussion about Osho's perspective on asceticism.
All right, let's talk about that.
Because it's definitely not what you might expect.
Well, I think a lot of people associate asceticism with denying yourself pleasure.
Yeah.
And basically punishing your body.
Right, the hair shirt kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. So how does Osho change that narrative?
He completely flips the script.
How so?
Well, he argues that true asceticism isn't about physical hardship.
Okay.
It's about transforming your inner world.
Okay.
He actually criticizes those common practices of fasting and deprivation. Yeah, suggesting that they often stem from ego.
Oh, interesting.
And a desire for attention.
Okay.
Rather than a genuine pursuit of spiritual growth.
So it's not about proving how much you can endure.
No.
Or showing off how spiritual you are.
Right.
It's more about cultivating that inner peace and freedom that allows you to kind of move through the world without being controlled by external circumstances.
Exactly, yeah.
That's a really good way to put it.
And to illustrate this point, he shares a powerful example of the story of Mahavira.
Ah, yes, I remember reading about this.
Yeah, he's a revered spiritual figure
Yes.
who practiced prolonged fasting.
Right.
But what's interesting is that Osho doesn't see, Mahavira's fasting as deliberate self-denial.
Okay.
He suggests that Mahavira was so absorbed in his spiritual journey that he simply forgot about his physical needs.
Wow.
His detachment wasn't a forced act,
Yeah.
but a natural consequence of his profound inner state.
So he wasn't trying to punish his body.
Right.
He was transcending those limitations
Yes.
of the ego.
Exactly.
His awareness had just shifted to a completely different level.
Yes, and that segues perfectly into our discussion about detachment,
Okay.
which Osho redefines in a very subtle and insightful way.
All right. Well, I think we've reached a natural pause in our exploration for now.
Yeah, let's take a break and come back to this concept of detachment.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a really key part of Osho's teachings.
Yeah. It is.
And I think you'll find it incredibly insightful.
I'm sure I will.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll be back soon with more from Osho.
Sounds good.
So stay tuned. All right. So let's dig into this concept of detachment.
Okay.
Something I've always kind of struggled with, to be honest.
Yeah, it's definitely a tricky one.
Yeah.
And often misunderstood. People think it means like becoming indifferent
Right.
or emotionless.
Yeah.
But that's not what Osho is talking about at all.
So if it's not about, shutting down our feelings, what is it about?
Well, Osho introduces this concept of non-attachment,
Okay.
which he calls viraga in Sanskrit.
Okay.
And it goes beyond just, liking or disliking things, what we might call raga and viraga.
Right.
It's about seeing that ultimately clinging to things or pushing them away,
Right.
both cause suffering.
Okay. I'm starting to see the nuance here.
Yeah.
So it's not about like ignoring our desires,
Right.
but more about changing our relationship to them.
Exactly. And to illustrate this, Osho tells us this really fascinating story
Okay.
about the mystic poet Kabir
Okay.
and his son Kamal.
Okay. I'm all ears. Stories are always the best way to kind of wrap my head around these more complex ideas.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
So what's so special about Kamal?
Well, Kamal, despite being the son of, a renowned ascetic,
Right.
was known for accepting gifts.
Oh.
This really puzzled Kabir, who constantly reminded him that, they had no need for material possessions.
Right. You'd think growing up with Kabir as your father would make you kind of naturally inclined towards a simple life.
You would think so, but Kamal had a different perspective.
Okay.
He argued that if material things were truly meaningless, like his father taught,
Yeah.
then there was no difference between accepting them or rejecting them.
Okay.
Either way, you're giving them importance.
Right. Like that saying, what you resist persists.
Exactly.
The more you push against something, the more it seems to stick around.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
So Kamal's detachment came from a place of indifference,
No.
not aversion.
Not pushing away.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this really came through in an interaction he had with the king of Kashi.
Of course, a king. Got to have a king in the story.
Got to have a king, yeah.
So what happened?
Well, the king had heard stories about Kamal and was intrigued by his unconventional ways, Kabir, being the proud but slightly exasperated father.
Right.
Explained to the king that he and Kamal had parted ways because of their differing views on material possessions.
Okay, I bet that made the king even more curious about Kamal.
He was. So the king decides to pay Kamal a visit.
Okay.
Imagine this. The king, decked out in all his finery,
Yeah.
arriving at Kamal's, humble dwelling.
What a contrast. So what happened when these two worlds collided?
Well, the king, as a gesture of respect,
Yeah.
offers Kamal a precious diamond.
Ooh, I bet Kamal's reaction was priceless.
Yeah.
Did he launch into a lecture about, the illusion of material wealth?
Not quite.
Okay.
He simply looked at the diamond and said, "You brought a stone."
Huh. Talk about playing it cool. But there was more to it than that, right? He wasn't just being flippant.
Exactly.
Okay.
As the king was taking the diamond back.
Yeah.
Kamal casually remarked, if it truly is just a stone, why bother taking it back?
Mic drop.
I know.
So Kamal just subtly exposed the king's own attachment to the diamond.
Exactly. He wasn't rejecting the gift out of principle, but he
Yeah.
also wasn't clinging to it.
Totally unfazed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that really threw the king for a loop.
I bet that.
The king, a little confused,
Yeah.
but definitely impressed. Asks Kamal, well, where should I put it?
Oh, I bet Kamal just told him to toss it anywhere,
You know it.
emphasizing that it didn't matter to him in the slightest.
Exactly.
He was demonstrating that true detachment isn't about, forcefully rejecting things.
Yeah.
But it's about recognizing their impermanent nature
Mm-hmm.
and not being swayed by our desires or aversions.
Exactly.
So how'd the king react to this? Did he finally get it?
Well, the king is still a bit perplexed,
Yeah.
but wanting, closure,
Okay.
emphasized the value of the diamond. He wanted to make sure Kamal understood that this wasn't just some, trinket.
Right. And I bet Kamal just shrugged it off and said, "Where'd you leave it?"
You're on a roll.
Yeah.
He had no emotional investment in the diamond.
Right.
So he hadn't even bothered to keep track of it.
This Kamal guy's my new hero.
He's pretty great.
That's a fantastic illustration of how true detachment plays out in real life.
It's a great story, right?
It is.
And it really highlights how we often create our own suffering
Yeah.
by clinging to things that are ultimately impermanent.
It's a good reminder that true freedom lies in our state of mind, not in what we possess.
Exactly, yeah.
I'm starting to see how this idea of non-attachment ties into Osho's broader vision of, integrating science and religion.
It's all connected,
It is, yeah.
Science helps us understand the workings of the material world. Religion provides a framework for ethical living. And non-attachment allows us to engage with the world without being consumed by it.
This has been super insightful, but before we wrap up this part of our deep dive,
Yeah.
I am curious to hear your take on something.
Okay.
Osho emphasizes inner transformation as the key to a fulfilling life. But how practical is that in the real world?
That's a really important question.
Yeah.
And it's something that Osho addresses directly.
Okay.
He acknowledges that a lot of people struggle with this,
Yeah.
feeling like their spiritual aspirations are weak
Right.
and easily overpowered by worldly desires.
It's like starting a new diet with the best intentions,
Yeah.
but then finding yourself face to face with a plate of freshly baked cookies.
I love that analogy.
Right.
Yeah. So true.
But Osho suggests that this perceived weakness
Yeah.
stems not from the inherent strength of desires,
Okay.
but from a lack of genuine spiritual aspiration.
So it's not that the cookies are too tempting.
Right.
It's that our desire for a healthy lifestyle
Isn't strong enough.
precisely. It's like anything else in life.
Right.
You need motivation and commitment.
To achieve those goals.
Yeah, exactly.
It's all making a lot of sense, but I have one more question
Okay.
before we move on.
Yeah.
How do we awaken this genuine spiritual aspiration?
Yeah.
Is it something we can cultivate, or is it more of like a spontaneous thing?
Well, Osho believes it's a combination of both.
Okay.
He emphasizes, self-discovery as the catalyst for spiritual awakening.
Okay.
He talks about undertaking a journey of understanding who we truly are at our core. And this journey isn't about seeking rewards in the afterlife.
Okay.
It's driven by a genuine thirst for truth and self-knowledge.
So it's not about earning brownie points
Right.
with some higher power.
Not at all.
It's about expanding our consciousness and experiencing life more fully.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, I like that.
And what's interesting is that Osho believes this pursuit of self-knowledge
Yep.
should be joyful,
Okay.
not a form of self-punishment.
So it's not about denying ourselves pleasure.
Right.
It's about finding a deeper,
Yeah,
more sustainable source of joy and fulfillment.
exactly. And that leads us nicely into the next part of our deep dive, where
Yeah.
we'll explore this idea even further.
Awesome. Can't wait. Okay, so we've been talking about, the importance of self-discovery and finding that genuine spiritual aspiration.
Yeah.
But I'm still grappling with this idea of how it all fits into our everyday lives,
Right.
It's easy to get caught up in the hustle and bustle and kind of lose sight of those deeper goals.
It's so true. Yeah, we're constantly bombarded with distractions and demands on our time and energy.
For sure.
But Osho emphasizes that true spiritual growth isn't about, escaping the world.
Okay.
It's about transforming our relationship to it.
That reminds me of something you said earlier about Osho's kind of radical take on asceticism.
Yeah.
It's not about deprivation,
Right.
but about inner transformation.
Mm-hmm.
So how does that play out in a world that's so focused on material success and instant gratification?
That's where Osho's teachings on discipline and self-control come in.
Okay.
But he defines these in a really unique way.
Okay, how so?
It's not about, suppressing our desires
Okay.
or becoming, emotionless robots.
Right.
It's about consciously channeling our energy towards what truly matters. Yeah.
So instead of like beating ourselves up for having desires,
Yeah.
we can learn to work with them, to kind of direct them in a more fulfilling direction.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's about recognizing that we have a choice
In how we respond.
Yeah, and how we respond to our desires.
Yeah.
We don't have to be slaves to them.
Right.
We can choose to align our actions with our,
With our deeper value.
with our deeper values,
Yeah.
and aspirations.
That makes sense.
It's about finding that balance between engagement with the world
Yeah.
and detachment from its, fleeting pleasures.
It's like being in the eye of a storm.
Oh, I like that.
You're aware of the chaos swirling around you,
Mm-hmm.
but you're not swept away by it.
That's such a powerful image, yeah.
Right.
And Osho's teachings offer a really practical roadmap for navigating that balance,
Yeah.
He encourages us to find that sweet spot.
Between.
Yeah, between enjoying, life's richness
Yeah.
without becoming enslaved by it.
It's a challenging path for sure.
It is.
But it sounds like it's ultimately about aligning our inner and outer worlds.
Yeah.
Finding that harmony between our actions and our deepest aspirations.
You got it. And that's what makes Osho's teachings so relevant even today.
Mhm.
He's not asking us to renounce the world
Right.
or become hermits. He's inviting us to embrace life fully
But with awareness.
with intention.
Uh,
Yeah.
This has been an incredible deep dive.
It
I
has.
feel like I've gained a whole new perspective on science and religion and personal transformation.
Me too. Osho's ideas are challenging.
Yeah.
But they're also incredibly liberating.
They are. Yeah.
They remind us that we have the power to shape our own lives,
Mhm.
to create meaning and purpose, and
Right.
to find true fulfillment from within.
And that the journey itself, that process of self-discovery and transformation
Mhm.
can be a source of joy and growth.
Absolutely, it's not about reaching some distant destination.
Right.
It's about embracing each step along the way.
I love that.
As we wrap up our exploration,
Yeah.
I want to leave you with a question to ponder.
Okay.
What if the true measure of spiritual growth
Yeah.
isn't about how much we renounce, but about how much we transform?
That's a powerful thought. It's not about escaping the world,
Right.
but about changing our relationship to it,
Yeah.
becoming more conscious, more compassionate, and more aligned with our true selves.
Exactly. And that transformation,
Yeah.
that ongoing journey of self-discovery and growth is at the heart of Osho's message.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the fascinating world of Osho's teachings.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
We hope you found it insightful and inspiring.
Yeah, and remember,
Yeah.
the most profound discoveries are often found within.
Keep exploring
Keep questioning.
and keep diving deep.
Yes.
Please like, share and subscribe.